BISP Solutions. I am Preeti, working as Oracle Fusion and PPM consultant. So in today's session we will discuss how to create the billable project, then we will see how to create the contract, and for recognizing the revenue from the projects we need SLA configuration, so we will have a discussion about that also. Let's start with the creation of billable project. Go to the projects tab here, then go to the project financial management. So in yesterday's session we have already seen how to create the work type, that is billable work type, then how to create the billable project type, and on the basis of billable project type we have created the project template for the billable project. Now today we will create the billable project. For creating the new project you have to click on this create icon. Now these are the projects that you can see on my screen, are the projects on which this user is working. When you will open this page, then you will be able to see all those projects on which your user is working. For creating new project you have to click on this create icon. Here we have to select the source template. This is the project template. So this is the template that we have created yesterday. Let's take a look of this template. Select here the project financial management as setup area. Then go to project foundation functional area. Now go to setup and maintenance. Select project financial management here. Then go to project foundation. Here you can see the task, that is manage project templates. Click on it. Search with the template name here. So this was the template that we have created yesterday. Click on edit icon. Go to basic information. So you can see here this was the structure that we have created for this template. Now with this template we will create the billable project. Billable project means we will generate the invoices for that project. We will bill to our customer. So this was the structure that we have created yesterday. Now today we will create the project with this project template. this is the user who will be the project manager for this project. So I have logged in with the user who is the project manager. Give the name of your project here. In our yesterday session, we have seen that while creating the template, we have selected in the quick entry field that we require project manager name mandatory while creating the project. So you can see here, now this field has become mandatory. Without providing the manager name, you won't be able to proceed further. Here you have to give the name of the project manager. And this is the same user I logged in with. Click on save and continue. Now you can see here that the structure that we have created for this template, you can see the same structure in the project. This is the basic use of creating the structure for the task for the projects. Now for seeing all the tasks, you have to go to the view and you have to click on this expand all below. So this is the task structure. Now here you can assign the plant start date or plant finish date. Here you can assign the resources. You have to click on this add icon. So in this way you can select the resource here and you can provide the plan amount you want to invest for this resource here. In this way you can provide the resource and also you can mention the planning amount for that particular resource. Here you can give the plant start date and the plant finish date. Then at lower task level you can mention the transaction control. Now here you can either give the exclusive or inclusive. Say if I'm taking it as inclusive, then click on this add icon. Now here you have to give this effective start date. Let's take it as 1st June to 30th June. If I am taking inclusive, then the expenditure category that I am giving here, you will be able to create the transaction with only those expenditure category from 1st June to 30th June. You won't be able to create the transaction other than this category. So this is the use of the inclusive functionality. Let's take it as chargeback. So there is no expenditure type. Now if you are selecting expenditure category here, then from 1st June to 30th June you will only be able to create the transaction for this task that will be having the expenditure category as fees. Say if you are creating any transaction with equipment expenditure category, then system will throw the error because you have given the inclusive functionality here. And if you are taking exclusive, exclusive here, then click on this add icon. I want that this task can create transactions from 1st June to 30th June other than the expenditure category fees. Then you will be able to create the transaction with all the expenditure categories, but you won't be able to create the transaction with the expenditure category fee particularly for this task. So this is the functionality that we can use for the transaction control. By default, you have to take it as exclusive so that you can create the transaction with all the expenditure category types. Click on cancel. So you have two options. You can create the transaction control at project level also, and also at lower task levels. I will show you later how to create the transaction control at project level. Now this was the planned start date and planned finish date. This is the actual transaction start date and this is the actual transaction finish date. Now you will have one separate column for the billable purpose. You have to go to this view and click on columns and then click on show all. Now you can see here that we have this checkbox that is billable and chargeable. So the top tasks are not chargeable, only the lower tasks are chargeable, but the top tasks are billable and also the lower tasks are billable. You can also disable this checkbox and this task will not be billable. So in what cases you use this billable or non-billable functionality? Say if in this case we have one resource and we want to use that resource to meet the deadline of this project, but that resource is not billable to this project. So what we will do, for example, we will create one task and that will be not billable. Say I don't want this project management task to be billable, then I will disable this checkbox. In this way you can take a call which task should be billable or non-billable. So in this way we can create the billable project. You can see here the work type as billable because at the time of creating project type we have associated the work type billable, and at the creation of project type we have also enabled the checkbox that is for billing. So in this way you can create the billable project. So this is our project. Click on it. Go to manage financial project settings. So you can see here on the basis of these tabs you can do the financial project settings. You can add the parties here. So it is a billable project, you can add the party here. You can add the multiple parties. So I am adding one customer here. Now go to planning. Go to financial plan tab. Now if you are using any cross charge options you can configure accordingly, and if you want to give the transaction control at project level, then this is the process how you can set the transaction control at project level. Click on edit, and you can see here by default it is exclusive. For inclusive controls, you have to select the inclusive, then you have to click on this add icon, and you can give the transaction control as per your business requirement. For reporting purpose setting, you can come to the reporting tab and you can do the changes here. Go to the additional information, go to the cost rate overrides. If you are using any cost rate overrides, you can give here. Now click on done. So this is how we can create the billable project. First you have to create the work type, then you have to create the project type, and while creating the project type you have to associate your work type there, and then you have to create the project template. While creating the project template you have to associate the project type, and then by using that project template you have to create the billable project. Now our next task for today's session is we will discuss how to create the contract. So for generating invoices and revenue in the project module, you have to create the contract. So for that, first we have to give a user a role, that is enterprise contract administrator. From security console, we will provide the role enterprise contract administrator to the user. Go to tools and then go to security console. Go to users. Now search for the user here. Click on edit and then click on add role. The role name is enterprise contract administrator. You can see here, this is the role. Click on this role and then click on add role membership, then click on done. Now click on save and close. Click on done. Then we have to give the data access to the user for this role. Go to the setup and maintenance. Select project financial management here and then search for manage data access for users. This is the task, search for it. Now here you will give the data access for this role. We will give the data access at business unit level. Now click on save and close. After providing the role and giving the data access, you have to run the LDEP job. Go to tools for that and then go to schedule processes. Click on schedule new process. Click on submit here. Now you can see the tab here, that is contracts. Now this user is allowed to create the contracts. So for giving the access to this user, you have to provide one role, that is enterprise contract administrator, and you have to provide the data access for the same at business unit level. Click on this contracts now. For creating the contract, you have to go to this contract tab panel. Then you have to click on this create contract. So we have given this user the access at business unit, which is US1 business unit. Therefore you are able to see here the business unit name as US1 business unit and the legal entity associated with this business unit. Now here you have to give the type, that is contract type. So in our one of the sessions we have seen how to create the contract line and how to create the contract type. Let's create one more contract type. Now while creating the contract type, we will use seeded contract line. In the intent, it will always be sale for project purpose. the buyer role as customer, and in the seller role you have to select supplier. In the contract owner role, select contract administrator. Associate the contract line type here. Then come to the project billing option tab. Enable it for billing controls. Whether you need billing limit type as soft limit or hard limit, let's take it as soft limit, and then click on save and close. So this is the contract type that we have created now. Give the contract number here. Here you have to associate your customer for this contract. Let's take it as this customer. Now click on save and continue. Give the name here. Give this effective start date, end date. Only start date field is mandatory. Then here you can create the lines for this contract. Give the line number and also give the name here. Click on OK. Now we have created the lines. We will edit or we will add the details here after configuring the other tabs. Now in the parties you can add customer. So while creating the contract, we have already associated this customer with this contract. You can see here the details. Now in the accounts, you have to give the account number, you have to give the bill to site details, and below you have to give the ship to site details. Here you have to give the ship to site detail. Now move to next tab. Now if you have committed with your customer that at the end of the project you will provide some documents, then you can create or you can attach those documents here. select here whether this document is one time deliverable or you have to deliver it on the repeat mode. You can select here as per your business requirement, and then you have to provide the fixed date. Now come to the billing tab. So in our second session we have seen how to create the event type, billing cycle, invoice method, revenue method and invoice format. So while creating the contract we will use all those 5 tasks here. We have to associate those invoice method, revenue method, invoice format and billing cycle here, and we will use the event type when we will create or we will generate the invoice. So here you have to use those 4 tasks. Select the contract organization here. In the transaction type, select the transaction type that we have created for the project purpose. Now come to the bill plan. Here you have to associate your invoice method in the bill plan. You can see here you will find the bill plan that you have created. So right now I am using the seeded invoice method provided by the Oracle. This is the customer information. Now here you have to mention the payment term. Let's take it as net 15. Here you have to select the billing cycle. Let's take it as monthly. This is the invoice grouping options. If there is any difference in the currency, then you can do the required setups here. Now in the invoice summarization options, here you can select the invoice formats. So in the labor format I am associating the invoice format created for the labor purpose. In the same manner I will select the format for non-labor and event format. Now in the associated contract lines, we will associate the contract line that we have created in our second tab. Click on add icon. Now come to the tab lines. Give the line amount here. Give the ship to account number here and also give the ship to site name. So this is successfully we created the line. Click on save. and then again go to the billing tab here. Click on edit. Now here you have to associate the line. So we have created only one line. Associate that line to the bill plan. If you have created the multiple lines, then you, from this list you have to select which line you have to associate here. Now click on submit. Click on save and close. In the same manner you have to associate your revenue method. Associate your revenue method here, and in the same manner you have to associate your contract line here. Now click on save and close. You can see here, when we created the contract type, we have selected the soft limit, and you can see here that it is showing the amount of line under the soft limit tab. So this is the use of selecting the soft limit or hard limit while creating the contract type. Now you can see here the financial summary of this contract. You can see here the contract amount, billed amount, revenue amount, and the backlog. That is, say if you have invoiced 2 lakh from this contract amount, then 3 lakh will be the backlog. Also you can see the profit details here. If you want to see this information in a graphical presentation, then you can see here. So this is the financial summary tab, where you can see the details of this contract. If you want to attach any documents that are related to this contract, then you can add here, like contract documents, supporting documents, uploaded revisions. In the history, you can see the history of this contract. You can see right now that this contract is created by this user, and her name is Amy Marlin. So you can see the person or the user who have created this contract, the creation date, the status, and the amount of this contract. Approval history, if you can see here the approval history. When we will submit this contract, then it will go for approval. After it will be approved, you will be able to see the approval history here, and the status of this contract is draft. And if you are using any currency conversions, then you can do the configurations related to it here. And if you want to attach any notes, then in the notes tab you can attach here. Now we have to validate this contract. Go to actions and click on validate. If we have missed any of the information, then system will throw error. So right now there are no errors and there are no warnings, so we are good to go with this. Click on done, and now click on submit here. You can see here, if you want to send any note to approver, you can mention here. Say if you want to mention the detail of this contract, then you can add that in the note to approver. Now if you want to see who is the user to whom this contract will go for approval, then you have to expand this approver. Here you can see the details of the approver. So Kylie Hutchins, she is the user who will approve our contract. Now click on submit. Click on save and close. So you can see here the status. It was first was seen at draft, and now the status is changed from draft to pending approval. Now let me log in with the user to whom our contract has gone for approval. Go to the notification tab. Here you can see the heading is action required, approval of contract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, billable contract for owns and minor from Emmy Marlin. Now we will approve this project in this way. When the workflow is set that you will create the contract, and for that contract will go for approval to some user. In this way, this user have to approve this contract, then only you will be able to generate invoice using that contract. So click on approve, and now our status from pending approval will be changed to active. You can see here the status was pending approval. Now it will be changed to active. So you can see the status as active. So in this way you can create the contract. In later sessions we will discuss how to create the invoice using these contracts, and let me give you the overview of the next task, that is SLA configuration for revenue. So when we create the invoice in the project module, we send those invoices to the AR module from the projects, but when we generate revenue, it will directly go to the general ledger module. So for the invoice accounting, we create the auto accounting rules that we have already discussed, but for the revenue purpose we have to create the SLA configuration in the projects module. So you have to keep in mind one thing, that for invoices it transfer to AR, invoice. In the case of invoice generation, it transfer from the project module to AR module. And we need to configure the auto accounting rules. And for revenue generation, we transfer it from the project module to GL module. And for this purpose, we need to configure the accounting rules. That is account rules. This setup is under AR module. So when you are talking about creating the auto accounting rules, this setup is the part of AR module. You have to configure it in the AR module. But when you are talking about the revenue, you have to configure this account rule in the project module. The application, I will show you where you can find these tasks, and we will discuss the configurations related to it tomorrow. Let's move to our application. Go to setup and maintenance. And the setup area, select financials. We have to configure the auto accounting rules, and this is the part of accounting receivable module, and accounting receivable module is the part of the financials. Now here in the functional area, you have to select the functional area as receivables. So customer billing is also the part of receivable. You can see here the auto accounting rules. So you need to configure this auto accounting rules in the financials. But when you are doing the configurations for the revenue purpose, you have to do it in the project module. Now this was about the invoice generation. Now select the setup area as project financial management. And for the SLA configurations in the project financial management, you have to select the functional area as project accounting. And here you can see the task, that is manage accounting rules. So when you create the invoice in the project module, you transfer it to the AR module, and for that you need auto accounting rules, and those auto accounting rules will be configured in the financial functional area. And when you are generating the revenue in the projects, you have to configure the SLA configuration, because you transfer the revenue to GL module, and for that you have to configure the account rules, and that task will be configured under project module. We will discuss and we will see how to configure the SLA status for the revenue in the application tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching